Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice Radio. So today, I am here to tell you that it turns out that new Raichu, the Nuzzle deck, is actually a good deck, actually works, and stands a pretty gosh darn good chance of surviving the rotation. I know. Let's have a look at it, shall we? It all revolves around the new Raichu, which just came out in Dream League in Japan this past week. And it's already winning. I got 2 winning deck lists that I will be showing you during this video. So the Raichu then is weirdly similar to Raichu GX. For 1 lightning energy, it does 20 damage for each lightning energy that you've got on the field. So as long as you can get enough lightning energy on the field, you can just sit there smashing with Raichu, doing a decent amount of damage. And of course, bear in mind that you're a stage 1 for a single energy, and you're giving up a single prize. The amount of investment you're putting in and the amount you're losing when Raichu gets knocked out really is minimal. And that's a very, very good thing indeed. And that's basically the deck. Get a bunch of Raichu, get a bunch of energy, and smash. But Raichu's first attack is Nuzzle, and therein really lies the engine of the deck. It's a Nuzzle deck. So there are 2 Pokemon we really need. And unfortunately, one of them is not the Dedenne that can snipe for 10 for each Nuzzler you've got on the field. Sorry. What we've got here is Emolga and Pachirisu. Pachirisu has Nuzzle, and it also has an attack for a single energy that lets you search your deck for 1 lightning energy and attach it to each of your Pokemon that has Nuzzle. Cool. Now, you are putting 1 energy on each Pokemon with Nuzzle, but the key point here is that Raichu does damage depending on the amount of energy attached to all of your Pokemon as and how you like it. So it doesn't matter if you've got a Pachirisu with 4 energy on. Yes, your opponent can knock out said Pachirisu to get rid of the energy, but until they do, you only need 1 energy on your Raichu, but you can use the energy to accelerate damage regardless of where the energy is. And this is your goal here. You want to Snuggly Generator early and often and get your energy out. That's the goal here. You play nothing, in theory, other than Nuzzlers, although both decks do actually play 1 non-Nuzzler. And I will say, of the 2 lists I'm going to show you, one of them did actually play Dedenne, but one of them didn't, so I feel vindicated. Essentially, Dedenne can hit 60 to the bench, which is pretty good for taking out some evolving Pokemon. Pachirisu gets your energy on the field, that's how you get all your energy. And then we look at Emolga. Emolga's got a great ability that says once during your turn you may search your deck for a Pokemon with Nuzzle and put it into your hand. Now, worth pointing out here that the new Pikachu is a 70 HP Pikachu with Nuzzle. I did a video about it, I'll pop a link in the description, also to the Raichu video that I did about the new Raichu, you get that. And what's great here is that Emolga can search for Emolga, which can search for Emolga, which can search for Emolga. Essentially, if you get 1 Emolga out, you can then get all of your Emolga that aren't prized, plus 1 other Pokemon. So let's say, for argument's sake, you start with Emolga, and nothing else. Emolga 1 can search Emolga 2, Emolga 2, Emolga 3, Emolga 3, Emolga 4, Emolga 4 searches a Pachirisu, and as long as you can get your Emolga out of the active, you are basically guaranteeing a turn 1 Snuggly Generator for 5 energy, assuming that none of your Emolga are prized. Hey, remember how I said if you can get Emolga out the active, it's got free retreat. You want to start Emolga. Free retreat combined with the fact you can get all your Emolga plus 1 other Nuzzler really does make this amazing. But maybe you just end up with a couple of Pikachu and a couple of Emolga. Well, next turn you can search out your 2 Raichu. The key Pokemon in this deck are your Raichu, your Pachirisu, your Emolga. They are the ones on which you're really relying. But there is one other Pokemon that saw play in both the decks and absolutely should have. It's Tapu Koko Prism Star. Tapu Koko Prism Star, if it's on the bench you can pop it in the Lost Zone and attach 2 lightning energy, 1 to each of 2 of your benched Pokemon. Now what's awesome about this is that firstly it gets 2 more energy on the field, that means 40 more damage. Secondly, it gets off the field, because you only want Nuzzlers out. When you're using Snuggly Generator, or if you're attacking with Dedenne, you only want Nuzzlers out. And the problem with Tapu Koko is it doesn't have Nuzzle. That is bad. But you can Lost Zone it, so it's not on your bench anymore. That is good. Now there are a couple of other Pokemon to consider here. One of the decks played 1 copy of Mew from Unbroken Bonds. It's got bench barrier, it means that your opponent cannot do damage to your benched Pokemon. You never really, especially in the early game, you never really want a non-Nuzzle around the field. Now, if you've stopped using Snuggly Generator for the game and you're not attacking with Dedenne, fine, although the deck that played Mew also played Dedenne. But generally speaking here, you don't really want this. But there are some decks that spread damage around and you've got lots of little Pokemon, and the fact of the matter is, it can win you games, so it is worth the investment. The other deck did play 1 Tapu Koko GX. It's really good because it can just come in and do a big attack. Does 50 damage for each energy attached to your opponent's Pokemon, that being all of them. Ironically, really good against a Nuzzle deck. And when you bench it, you can just move energy over and smash. It's alright. The problem is you can start with it. The other Pokemon we see played here is the Electros from this deck. And you cannot start with Electros. Electros is brilliant. In fact, Electros actually just came out in Unified Minds. It's not League of Tournament play yet, but it has actually been released. You can go pick it up in packs. And what's great about the Electros is that you can put it from your hand directly onto the bench if you've got 4 lightning energy in play. So you can play it, but you can't start with it. So you can use it if you really want to, but you don't have to use it if you don't, which is awesome. And you're playing a Snuggly Generator deck, you're gonna have energy on the field. And I should quickly mention that one of the 2 lists did actually play a single copy of the Raichu from Burning Shadows. Automatic paralysis when you evolve up into it. It's a fun little tech, but it was only played in one of the 2 decks, so you could include it, but it's not going to be a huge issue when it rotates in September. Now, in terms of energy, you play basic lightning, you don't play anything else. That should be fairly obvious. In terms of trainer cards here, you got the general Pokemon search, you got Nest Ball, which is unfortunately rotating out. Incidentally, of all the Pokemon we looked at, the only one rotating out is Tapu Koko, which I don't really think you should be playing anyway, because it's a GX you can start with, so that's fine by me. You've got Nest Ball and Pokemon Communication for search. I know that it's a bit rubbish, but Nest Ball is rotating out, but it is for everyone. Pokemon Communication here is a really great combo of Emolga, because if you want a non-Nuzzler, search it with Emolga, and then swap it using your Pokemon Communication. One of the cards that you really need to be playing here is Electro Power. Electro Power means that your lightning Pokemon do 30 more to the active. Although Raichu does a fair amount of damage, it doesn't always quite hit the numbers on bigger Pokemon. Quite important to have it out here. An energy switch is also a great call here, because you're going to have a lot of energy on all of your bench Pokemon. So you might find that you actually get so much energy out of your deck onto your bench that you don't have one in your hand. Energy switch can switch it over to a Raichu to keep attacking. And it's a lightning deck, so might I suggest playing Volkner. Lets you search for a basic lightning energy and an item card, pop it into your hand. What is interesting here is that neither of these decks actually played Thunder Mountain Prism Star. It can allow Pachirisu to attack for free. It can allow Dedenne to attack for free. It can allow Raichu to attack for free. So why not play it? Because the whole point of the deck is to get as much energy on the field as possible. It's rarely going to be a huge issue. Now, we do see, in terms of stadium cards, Power Plant, because it turns off EX and GX abilities, and again, Tapu Koko, but I don't love that in this deck. You're generally not relying on it, other people are. A lot of people are playing Dedenne GX, and you might be playing the Dedenne from Lost Thunder, but you ain't playing Dedenne GX. And then, one of the two decks played Wonder Labyrinth Prism Star. And I adore this. Wonder Labyrinth Prism Star increases the attack cost of non-fairy Pokemon by 1 colourless energy. The thing is, you're playing so much energy and trying to get it out so quickly that you can probably get 2 energy on a Raichu without worrying too much. Your opponent is unlikely to be able to do that as well. Ergo, Wonder Labyrinth Prism Star becomes a good shout. Now, we did see one of the decks playing Roxy, and I adore Roxy in this deck as well. Roxy lets you discard 2 Pokemon from your hand, and then draw 3 cards for each Pokemon discarded. But you can use Emolga to search for Nuzzlers and put them in your hand, meaning that if you've got 2 Emolga out, you can use Roxy very nicely to draw 6 cards, though do be wary of running out of Pokemon. The only other real thing of note we saw over the couple deck lists was EXP Share, which was only played in one of the decks. It's good for conserving your energy, it is rotating out, but it's not necessary, and one of the decks didn't even play it. And I suppose I should give a shout out to Reset Stamp, which in a shocking twist is played in every single deck. It's a phenomenal comeback card. Makes your opponent shuffle their hand into their deck and draw a number of cards equal to their remaining prizes. Your opponent takes the lead. This will make you come back. Here's the first list, very well laid out incidentally. It plays 3 copies of Roxy and it plays the Electros and the Tapu Koko. But generally speaking here, it's built for setting up, getting the energy out, and then you've got your Electro power. Though do note the single Wonder Labyrinth Prism Star, which is a really fun little trick. Here is a second list which plays Mew, but doesn't play the Electros or the Tapu Koko GX, does play a couple of EXP Share, and that's its kind of main trick outside of the norm. There's not much we're losing from this deck when the rotation hits. We're keeping every Pokemon except the Tapu Koko GX, which I wouldn't play anyway. And the only cards we're really losing here are your Nest Ball, your Guzma, the kind of things that every deck is losing. Though I should point out the Rescue Stretcher might hurt you more than some decks, but once you're rolling, it's not that difficult to play a Brock's Grit and get all your Pokemon back in that way. So I don't think that's a huge issue either. This deck is really well set up to survive the rotation. Far better than most, especially with stuff like Emolga to search out your Pokemon. And given that we've got 2 winning decks from the first 2 days of legality, I think it's fair to assume that this is going to be a very good deck indeed. And it's the cutest good deck out there. I think that's pretty obvious. I'd love to know what you think about it though, so please do let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, be nice. And then if you'd be so kind, please like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at The Wassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays, where we talk about a whole bunch of games that don't even have any Pokemon in, like the new Marvel Living Card game, which looks amazing. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.